Welcome to Sticky Interviews. I'm Nathan Simmonds, Senior Leadership Coach and Trainer for MBM, Making Business Matter, the home of sticky learning. We are the provider of leadership development and soft skills training to the grocery and manufacturing industry. The idea of these interviews is to share great ideas, great concepts and great ways these skills are being used to help you be the best version of you in the work that you do. Welcome to the show. We're digging into some different territory with this next conversation. So I've got the pleasure of speaking to Raham. So we've had a bit of a conversation to and fro through LinkedIn. We've had a little bit of a look at each other's leadership aspirations, and we are both super enthusiastic about leadership as a whole and have big visions about what we want to create in the world. But I'm not going to spoil that part yet until we get into that. I'm going to let Jay share that one. First of all, let me introduce him completely by some of his accolades and his current celebratory points along this journey. So he's an award-winning lecturer, consultant, and public speaker. He has a vision to enhance the practice of leadership at a global level, and is already doing this through his training of aspiring managers in Mauritius, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Morocco, which in itself is pretty astounding for any leadership trainer. In fact, he's already clocking up over 7,000 leaders so far that he has supported and guided and mentored. And amongst all this, he's also achieved 5 fellowships, which in itself is a unique accomplishment. And one of the interesting places that he likes to start his conversations is about how he likes to introduce himself as the magician. But we're going to get into that in a minute. We're not going to cover that bit. But first of all, Jay, I just want to say massive thank you for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with us and develop up some of these ideas for the listeners. Thank you very much. So why do they call you? Or tell them, they don't call you. No, I don't think they call. I think you started this somewhere. Why do you call yourself the magician?
Before I go into that, Nathan, I just want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come on the show. And it's always great to work with like-minded professionals. And I appreciate you taking the time out and making this happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Going back to your question, if you like, Nathan, why I like to introduce myself as the magician. Sounds weird, bizarre, strange. People have said things in the past. But there's a reason behind it, there's an explanation behind it. Yes, it is part of my personal branding. And I believe it presents me in the best possible way. So the reason why I consider myself the magician, so with all my clients, if you like, the individuals I have developed on the leadership program over the years, what I like to do is create moments that allows them to find that inner voice, the confidence boost, and then take that away with them to their office and experience those magical moments where they are able to inspire the team members, they are able to take them on an inspiring journey and also connect with the clients, the customers. So that is my explanation why I like to introduce myself as a magician. So if you ask me, I do like to create those moments where everyone in the group or the session or on an individual level, they feel there's positive energy to work with and there's something to take away.
That's amazing. And how much do you know about Jungian archetypes?
Sorry, Nathan, say again, please.
How much do you know about the Jung archetypes?
Not much.
Good. But this is the interesting part of it, is Jung says there's 4 kind of main archetypes. It's the warrior, the king, the magician, and the lover. And actually, the magician is the creative energy. He comes up with new solutions, new ideas. It comes with that sort of energy. So even without you realizing it, you say you like to introduce yourself as a magician because you'd like to create these magic moments, but it is about that creation. So you're channeling that inner magician, which is, it's a really nice thing, whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously, doesn't matter. Because it's all about the people in the room experiencing that, then carrying it and going and doing something different. And I also know about you is you pride yourself on thinking outside of the box. Now,
yeah.
again, it's that magician energy, that magician archetype that creates the new solutions that are being outside of the box. So that's, super important. So it's really nice that, that you introduce yourself that way, because it then sets kind of, not a precedent, it's you're setting an intention about what you're going to bring to that room, what you're going to bring to your clients, and what those people are going to carry when they walk out of that room as well. So that's super important. I like that a lot.
No, thank you for that. Something I have experienced in with my interaction with my clients and learners and all the rest. It's important to set the boundaries. It's important to set the scene. And from my perspective, it's always beneficial when I can share a little bit about my success, what I have achieved with regard to my journey. And I do believe there's still so much more I would like to do and achieve as the years go on. But it's a great way to get a reaction. So I've had so many people ask me, Jay, why do you call yourself the magician? And I'm like, give me a minute and I'll explain myself. And it's interesting, once I've had the chance to explain and go over it, often people would approach me and say, we really admire your confidence level. We admire the way you present yourself. And it makes sense. So it's not just a cliche, it is a part of me.
Absolutely that. And I think it's when you're setting that intention as a trainer, and for us, it's all about behavioral change. And we'll get into that later on. But when we as trainers and consultants, as speakers, walk into a room, we come with a reason, we come with a sense of purpose. We have our own internal dialogue. And when we walk into that room, we are going to do a certain kind of thing in that space based on what we're bringing. And that's the reason why we were invited into that room. That's why companies pay us. That's why people invite us to speak and do that thing, because we come with that reason. For me, my purpose when I articulate is I am challenging people's thinking so they can become more incredible than yesterday. That's the first words that come out of my mouth every morning. And it's the reason I get up. So when I walk into a training room, and I tell people, I am going to challenge your thinking so that you can become more incredible than yesterday. And people look at me like, who's this madman? Yeah. And then they start, like, you can see some of the people, they're like that. Oh, I'm not sure about this fella. What's going on? And then I ask them, is it okay that I challenge your thinking so that you can become more incredible than yesterday? Now, it's a loaded question. I know what the answer is going to be. If you say no, then you're in the wrong room. But by doing that, you already prepare the room. You're already you're creating that atmosphere, that ambiance as you as the speaker and the trainer. So people can decide whether they're going to buy into it. And then you go in, because you've already set your bar, your expectation, you deliver your content, and you want to bring people to that level, to that bar.
Absolutely.
So when you turn up as the magician, you're there to create magic, It's... I love it. I think it's genius.
It hasn't let me down, and it's been with me for the last 7 years.
Nice.
And initially when I considered it, yes, it made me feel uncomfortable, and I wasn't too sure about myself, and I was on an interesting journey. Partially, I was developing myself and also looking at ways to enhance my brand, achieve awards, and also build my credibility. But the last 2 years has been absolutely amazing with regard to achieving the fellowships. I believe I'm the only one in the UK who's achieved 5, and my target is 7. So I've got 2 more I'm working towards. So it's been an interesting journey, and over the years I've found greater confidence in the brand and why it's become a part of me. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
I think you have to discover who you are, almost. You have to go into that kind of self-reflection. Okay, who is it I'm bringing? What's the reason I'm bringing for? But I think because we are unlearned, we unlearn who we actually are through a course of time, through our experiences. And then it takes a little bit of getting used to step back into that power and own it, and then go and do that thing. So like you say it's a bit of a journey. It took me maybe 2 years to get really comfortable, 2.5 years to get really comfortable to say to people, and people say, oh, what do you do for a job? I help people become more incredible than yesterday. And they're like, oh. But you say it with such confidence, and people go, oh, I'd like to do that as a job. And they have no idea what you do. But because you come with that confidence, and it's almost like you're putting on, you're taking off the jacket of the labels of other people and just being you, and being responsible in that, you know. So yes, it takes time to get comfortable with it, but the more people that get comfortable in that kind of understanding of themselves,
Sure.
the more incredible the world becomes.
Also, Nathan, I think it's on my part, it's fair for me to thank my previous employers, so particularly the Royal Bank of Scotland. When I first moved into banking, my background prior to moving into learning and development was banking. Mm-hmm. And I worked with the Royal Bank of Scotland for 10 years. As a young person, I didn't have much confidence. I struggled with presentations. I struggled interacting with my clients, customers. But it was great. Certain individuals saw potential in me and decided to invest in me as a professional. They enhanced my communication skills. They gave me the exposure to work with clients on various projects. And it was an amazing journey. And going through the whole journey, if you like, it gave me the opportunity to self-reflect and understand a lot more about myself as a person, as a professional. And what I found, I love working with individuals. I'm not someone who can be locked in an office and work on my own. I mean, even with this whole lockdown, I'm struggling because I love being around people. I love inspiring people. I love bringing the best out of people. That's my style. That's my approach. But yeah, without the training, the guidance, the support, there's no way I would be doing what I am doing with confidence and passion if it was not for that initial journey. So I am grateful to my previous employer, the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Do you know what? It's unfortunately for me, it's novel to hear that people say these sorts of things. You know, you were, for me, you were in the right place, right people, right environment, and that was the Royal Bank of Scotland. Phenomenal. And you know, you've had the right conversations. And I don't think that sort of environment is that common. I don't think it's that regular from my viewpoint of it, which is probably why you do what you do, and it's why I do what I do. And I've said this to you previously, you know, I came from the flip side of it. Yes, I was in banking. Yes, I've been in lots of other businesses. But I had some of probably the worst managers and leaders and the worst environments. And it was frustrating. It was painful. I didn't enjoy the process. But at the same time, I'm 100% grateful for the experiences that I got from those people, because I learned some of the most valuable leadership lessons from the most damaging leaders and managers. Because I had that ability to self-reflect myself. Without that, you know, you see... for me, that's one of the key traits of a good leader, or someone that is, you know, is working in the leadership. It's that ability to reflect and kind of develop from that. Super important. And it's nice and novel and refreshing to hear that you've had that growth and that potential seen in you early on as well. Yeah,
and also the clients or the customers, they played a massive part. I mean, I can look back and reflect on situations where customer would just walk in on a Monday morning. Jay, how was your weekend? We just want to have a chat with you. And it's bizarre considering someone would come in just to see you as a person, just to see your face. And there have been situations where clients have opened up about their own vulnerabilities, and I had to push them back and say, I'm really sorry, I'm not a qualified counselor. We shouldn't really be having this discussion. I'm here to trying to sell you some financial products. This is not part of the package, if you like.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just been interesting, and I'm just excited in terms of what's ahead for me with my vision and what I would like to do. So yeah, it's been a great journey for me the last 27 years.
But even in you saying that, there are not red flags is the wrong. There's alarm bells that are ringing of people are asking you this stuff and approaching you with this stuff. For me, that's kind of the telltale signs that that there is a direction that you're designed to be going in. When people start sharing that sort of thing with you, that you're propagating kind of this skill set where you magnetize people to you because they need that support, that guidance, that magic energy or whatever, you know. The other part, I think as a leader, as a manager, maybe people only see that in reflection. But as for another element of the leadership, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is being able to see that in your people and understanding, actually, let's see what that skill is. Let's see what their unique superpower is, their
Absolutely.
USP, and help them to foster and develop that for them as an individual. Yes, inside our team, yes, inside our business, but also for them and their long-term growth, which may be outside of this organization doing something completely different, rather than trying to keep them in this team and stifled and suffocated, you know?
Yeah, and you have made a very valuable point, Nathan. Something I like to do with my clients. So I promote this concept around the dream team. So it's not just developing a team, it's developing the dream team, a team that looks out for the organization's best interest, a team that's eager to move the organization forward. And often management or leaders would say there's a lot of work that needs to go into it and we need to invest into training and all the rest. But actually, it's not true. What's important is respect. It's making a team feel valued. It's making the team members feel appreciated. And also every now and then just saying, appreciate your work. Thank you very much for helping me out. And it's great to have you as part of this team. That's all it is. It's creating this atmosphere where people feel this sense of belonging. We feel we're family, we're one unit. Something we Brits lack is creating this atmosphere around families. But if you look at the American companies, they're very passionate when it comes to creating this whole environment where everyone feels they're part of a unit, part of a family, there's a purpose, there's a sense of belonging. And these things, it's amazing, it fascinates me. And there's just so much scope in terms of developing professionals and helping them up the game. It's amazing in terms of opportunities.
It is, and you talk about the family thing, and I've talked about this, not sure with you, but previously, when I'm training, is when I'm leading a team, I treat the people in my team like they are my children, not like a child. This is your work family, and they could be, I've worked with people that are 66, 67 years old, and they are still my work children. I look after them and nurture them because I want them to develop. I get the same sense of parental pride when they succeed and they go and do something. I get the same sense of parental shame when they make a mistake or make an error to a customer. I get that same sensation. And we spend more time at work than we do actually at home with our real families. So these are the people that you need to be building bonds with and relating with and getting excited about. Because we don't go home and talk about the number of toilet rolls we sold or the number of burgers we flipped. We don't know, do we? We talk about the conversations we have with people. We talk about what Bob did or what Jane did or how you helped a customer overcome the problem because they were stuck roadside, whatever. That's what you talk about, is the relationships that we build.
Absolutely.
Let's look, we're going in 15 different ways from Sunday on this. So look, I'm keen to get more of this information, but let's make it really pinpoint and focused. For you, what is the greatest quality a leader needs to develop?
Emotional intelligence.
Boom. Okay, go. Tell me more.
See, what I found from my own research, when it comes to managers, almost 80% of managers lack emotional intelligence. And what that basically means is having the ability to read your own vulnerabilities and appreciate how your behavior could impact everyone around you. So effectively your team members. And if we consider the current situation with the whole coronavirus outbreak, there's a good possibility once we're able to deal with it and get through the process, remote working would take off. That's my belief. That's what I passionately think or believe it will happen. And there'll be a bigger emphasis on connecting digitally with our colleagues, our team members. So, for example, WebEx, Zoom, and all the rest. But it's absolutely necessary for managers and leaders to be aware how the behavior could impact. If you're in a business environment, it's very easy for you to assess your own behavior. For example, our body language. If someone reacts or demonstrates confusion, it creates the opportunity for us to challenge our behavior. But when it's all digital and not necessarily there's no webcam or camera involved, we're not necessarily aware of our behavior. So for me, emotional intelligence plays a big part. It's also looking at how we develop our relationships with everyone around us, not just work colleagues and family and friends, but everyone, the human, everyone that allow us to progress and become who we are. So for me, it's about taking ownership. It's about appreciating our own vulnerabilities, because there's room for improvement, regardless how established we are in our careers, our job, our profession. There's always the gap we need to explore. So yeah, for me, it's the most important aspect of leadership that needs to be developed: emotional intelligence.
And it's interesting you talk about the gap, and I think there is, when we're goal setting, if I set my goal for 3, 5, 10 years or whatever, and I start to evolve as a person, because it's not about achieving the goal, it's about the person you have to become in order to make the goal a reality. But as you start to evolve, so does your goal. So in truth, you yes, you do achieve the goal, but you don't, because your goal is on this conveyor belt, which is constantly in front of you. And it's not that there's a gap, it's just that you're developing as an individual. So there is always that 1 degree of improvement, that 1% change that you can make that gets a better result. There's the word that you could change, the approach that you use. And it's having the ability, that self-reflection, as we mentioned earlier, being emotionally savvy. Okay, how did I feel when I had this conversation with that person? What emotions came up for me when I said that to them? Oh, I saw they weren't happy. I didn't feel good. Having that ability to see and to feel yourself, and to kind of be conscious of what and who you're bringing to that conversation, and then go and do the reflection piece, then go and make the improvement. If you need to apologize, hold your hands up and say, I made a mistake. Ask them how you could make it better for them next time.
Yep, absolutely. Also, 2018, the Chartered Management Institute carried out research on the competencies of management and management figures. And what they found, which inspired me at the time, 80%, so it was more than 80% of managers are accidental managers. And often when I share this topic with my clients, my learners, people react very negatively. Jay, we've worked very hard to get to where we are. We believe we're good managers and all the rest. And it motivates me just to demonstrate some weaknesses within their own behavior, the abilities. But this research, I found it inspiring, and it encouraged me to push myself to do a lot more. Hence, I decided to develop myself at the highest possible level. So recently, I've completed my level 7 diploma in in strategic management and leadership with the Chartered Management Institute. I'll be starting my master's in September, so I'll be doing it in leadership and management. And my long-term goal is to achieve my PhD in management, so in leadership. So again, it's having that visibility and pushing yourself.
Yeah, agreed. And for me, when I did my coaching degree, now I knew that technically you don't need a qualification in coaching. I mean, there's plenty of coaches out there that say, I'm a coach, and some of them do a good job, some of them do, a debatable job. But for me, it's the process of going through the qualification that made the difference. It was, for me, doing the research and writing the essays and reflecting on what I thought I knew, what I didn't know, and breaking some of those disbeliefs, those misnomers down. But then also going through the process of doing the coaching hours. So, going and documenting 100 hours of coaching, reflecting on it, refining it, seeing and again, it comes back to that reflection, that emotional intelligence piece. I didn't need to do the qualification, but as a result of doing the qualification, I am fundamentally a different kind of person, at a genetic level, as a result of going through that process. So when you talk about going to do a PhD in this, the level of depth you go into, the understanding that you get out of that, the opportunity to break theories down and come at things from different angles and shift other people's perspectives while you're going through that process is phenomenally powerful.
Great. something I'll quickly share is just a quote that I work with a lot, and I just can't remember the name of the gentleman now. It's Arnold something. Apologies for that. It's just gone now. But all it is, it's just a minor quote, and it says, "A good leader is someone who is willing to take responsibility when things are not going well, and also not always looking at taking the credit. So it's more about the team as opposed to the leader." I'm sure his name will come back to me. It's just gone now. So,
Yeah.
That's it. Arnold Glasso.
Nice. And it's not about being self-deprecating. It's about, it comes back to that Newton quote about being the giant. It's not the only reason that I could see so far is because I stood on the shoulder of giants. And when you're as a leader, it's about being the giant, yes, but enabling people to climb up on your shoulders so they can see further than you ever did. And I say this a million times: is when you have children, no parent in their right mind wants their child to be equal to or less than them. No way, shape or form. You want your children to supersede you. You want them to have a bigger house than you. You want them to be more successful than you. You want them to have a bigger impact, all of that stuff. And it's the same when we're as leaders, when we suddenly get out of our own way and get out of our own ego and go, do you know what? There's a set of shoulders here, climb up. Let's see how far you want to go.
Yeah, makes sense. Valuable, absolutely.
Yeah. I love your thinking, and I love the depth at which you're willing to go. The depth at which you're willing to go with your time to invest in this subject for so many people, because that's what makes a difference.
I mean, there's also other motives behind. There are other motives. For example, my vision, which I'll share when you would like me to share.
You share when it's appropriate for you.
Well, my vision is in the next 7 years, I would like to reach 7 million leaders across the world. And I am working on an exciting project at the moment that would allow me to connect with my, not clients, but with the professionals in terms of developing them. And I am confident. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about my concept. I'm still working on it. But in terms of what I have in mind, it would be a unique concept. And the reason why I've given myself 7 years, I would like to achieve a professor's title before I roll out the program. Because for me, it's important to have that credential, the reputation behind the program, the process, and all the rest. So effectively, it would be a digital platform, but it would be very different to what we know. And I am excited about the scope, and I am confident I'll hit my mark. 7 years, 7 million clients across the world, no big deal. We'll get there. Nice. That's my vision. That's my thinking.
And the only, for me, when I talk to people about goal setting, is the only difference between a small idea and a big idea is the limit to which you apply in your own head. And then it's kind of, it's understanding, well, it's not the goal, it's about the person I have to become. It's not the goal, it's about the emotions I want to feel when I get to there. And then you start to build those emotions now, which turns you into that person from the inside out. So it makes the goal a reality.
Absolutely. And
when,
it just means that, sorry,
it
just means that I can more passionately go around promoting the whole concept around being the magician.
Yeah. And for me, I talk about setting big goals and stuff. But in truth, even if you didn't hit 7 million people for whatever reason in the next 7 years, and you fell short and you only got 50% and you only got to 3.5 million, would the world be a better place as a result?
100%. So
it'd be crazy not to aim for 7 million. We know if you aim for 3.5 million, maybe you only get one. You aim for the 7, maybe you're still head and shoulders above anywhere where you were previously.
Yeah. The reason why I am feeling confident, so over the last few weeks, a lot of professionals have approached me, and we've had discussions around developing individuals, and some of the ideas I've shared, people have come back and said, "Oh, Jay, this is amazing. It's so simple, yet it's amazing." And my argument is simplicity. That's the most effective. It's not important to make it all fancy and complicated. It's simplicity. It's for me, it's the mass market. It's targeting effectively everyone, not just being specific. And therefore, the process I have in mind, it's a very simple concept, but it would just change the landscape.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, I wish I could share a lot more with you, but because I'm also trying to keep it as protected as possible. But as the years progress, yes, it'll become more visible in terms of sharing it with the wider audience.
And I hope so too. And why? Because I look at the concept that, there's 95% of the world that probably have no idea that they have a sense of purpose, let alone know where they're going. And even if, it's 95 or 98%, even if you could shift that by 1%, how different would the world be? How different would civilization be, humanity be? When you're aiming at, say, 7 million people, what happens when you raise their consciousness? And you may do this as well, but I talk about internal leadership as well as external leadership. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anybody. If you cannot take the lead on an interview, you're not going to get promoted. If you're not going to get promoted, you're not going. It's just changing these dynamics one step at a time. So we are all visionary leaders if we choose to tap into it. At some point, we have this skill set. So the more people that you can get to get this internal view, this internal dialogue, the more people raise their game, civilization changes as a whole. And that's not too, I don't think that's too big an ask, to be honest.
No, and also just relating back to what you've just said, Nathan, it's also important for us to become role models. So if I'm not able to inspire myself, how can I possibly inspire the people around me?
Hell yes.
And for me, when I talk about inspiring, and I appreciate, different individuals have different goals, different definition around success. My motive is not to make money or become a millionaire or anything like that. It's just to make this world a better place from a leadership perspective. And when we talk about connecting with our team members, our fellow colleagues, like you said earlier on, we spend so much time with them. Why not make their existence purposeful? Why not make it fun for them? So they look back and they say, Jay, I've got your back.
And this is, for me, when you look at that size of that goal, for me, my goal is big. I've said 100 million people. I'm not just saying this kind of you've got 7 years. My life goal is 100 million people, to positively and successfully influence the growth and development of 100 million people through my coaching and training. And the reason I share this part is I had aspirations to be walking on stage. I could see the vision, me walking on stage, audience of 15,000 people, having this. But I found that my goal has changed shape. The more that I've evolved, the more that my thinking has shifted. And actually, I see myself in front of an audience of 15 people. And that audience of 15 people are people that think radically different, that have big goals that I can then work with, that helps them to go and impact the millions of people.
Absolutely.
But like you say, that impact to one person could mean something totally different to someone else. Their vehicle to make it happen as well is completely different. For some, it's a coach, some it's a hairdresser. It's different worlds.
Also, for me, Nathan, it's important to give the individuals, and when I say the individuals, the managers, the leaders, the confidence to go on and achieve greater success. So just to give you an example, someone I worked with for the last 3 years in terms of developing this individual, working on the confidence level. So this individual was someone who was relatively new to management. Considering it's been a 3 years journey, this individual has moved into a senior position with a reputable company. And for me, that excites, the passion, the excitement, the buzz you feel. You can't put a financial value to it. I mean, as a banker, there was a phase where I cared about just bonuses. It was about hitting the targets, and it was about having that lifestyle where this dreamy lifestyle. You go on holidays and you drive a nice car. You do what was required at the time, go into expensive bars and all the rest. And yes, I have had the opportunity to live that life. But what matters to me the most is the influence, the impact, the vision, how I can change the world as a wider community. And also make the commercial environment more feasible going forward.
Yeah, and it's helping people to plug into that internal leadership, so they go and excel, and it's commercially viable for them. You know, they can create their own business, their own impact. So, and again, as leaders and coaches and trainers or whatever, you know, we get them to plug in that, so then we can do more of that, and then we can get that loop or that commercial loop of reciprocity that keeps it going, so you can impact and connect with more people. Look, I want to continue that train of thought. So for you, and I know we touched on a couple previously, what are the top 3 traits for leadership?
Well, the first one for me is having a vision, or someone who's visionary. And with visionary comes the whole aspect around inspiring the people around you. So naturally, when we're in difficult situations, we look for opportunities to admire someone who would just stand out from the crowd and take us on an interesting journey, help us achieve our goals. So for me, the first one is someone who's visionary. And when I say visionary, they need to have the emotional intelligence to appreciate the wider picture and also the wider audience, and be prepared to take responsibility. So if things don't go well, it's important to put your hand up and say, actually, this is not working. It just means we need to reevaluate our strategy, come up with a new game plan, and move in the right direction. So the first one, having the vision or being visionary. The second one for me is communication. And without communication, as a team, as a business, as an organization, we cannot progress. And for me, it's keeping it simple. And that means avoid using business jargons. There's sometimes as managers, as leaders, we emphasize keywords or buzzwords, but we need to think about the wider audience. And it's also going back to the whole emotional intelligence piece. What impact will this have, my behavior, on everyone around me? So that's the second one for me. And then the last one is accountability. As managers, as leaders, we need to be able to take a step back and appreciate when our own vulnerabilities, our mistakes, and also approach our team members for help. We can't possibly have answers to every possible question. It just makes it more exciting and more rewarding when we work as part of a team. So just to give you an example, if someone's developing an idea, let's not knock their confidence. Let's give them the motivation to develop this idea. What's your thinking? What's your rationale? Tell me a little bit more. What is this? What is the impact behind your thinking? So we don't necessarily need to take away the concept. It's just enhancing the discussions.
Absolutely, this, and it'd be remiss of me not to mention that now in the interview, is asking the right questions. And at MBM, we've created some new coaching cards. One is the coaching deck, so you've got core coaching questions from your Grow Coaching model, and we've also got a leadership deck which I've put together, which helps you to do the self-reflection, helps you to see where you're going, helps you to see what the obstacles are that are going to come downstream, but then also create solutions with your team, with yourself, who to ask questions for, who to bring into. Because as a leader, we're not designed to have all the answers. You know, good leadership is about making sure you've got the people with the right capabilities when you don't have the answers, and making those people feel included and bringing them in, and then also helping them with those coaching questions to challenge in the right way, so that the person can see maybe the gaps in thinking because they haven't had that level of learning yet, and then they can develop the thinking themselves, come up with their own solution. It's still their idea. It's your responsibility as a leader to remove the obstacles by asking the right questions, so that person finds a solution for themselves, and then they will go on to go and do greater things than you did. That is phenomenally powerful. Vision, responsibility, I've got responsibility down there as well, and communication, and accountability. Huge. Absolutely vital. Good.
Yeah, it's just what I believe in as a professional, and also I've seen the impact it has had on me as a professional. So it's always beneficial and valuable when I can share my experiences with my audience, the clients, the learners, and demonstrate how my vulnerabilities has guided me to achieve greater success. So appreciating my vulnerabilities, developing a strategy to overcome that, and then looking at the impact with regard to the journey. So yeah, we have to be realistic as professionals. I'm not trying to create this unrealistic dream, vision, ideas. We need to keep it real.
For me, there's two elements. One is, I learned this a few years ago, the thing that you lack is the thing that you're meant to give. So the thing that I always lacked was actually someone to challenge back. So I was there, you know, the very strong character, always pushing, and I wanted someone to push back, you know, with the right assertion to challenge my thinking, to help me become more incredible. And I never had that, and I was always seeking it. And from the other side of your story is, you know, you saw the benefits of you got exactly what you needed. You know, potentially there may have been a lack of that elsewhere. You got that from that environment, and it's just nurtured you to step up into that and move that forward. And I think in that in itself is powerful, because then you can see how important it is. And like for me, I see how important challenge is. Challenge is absolutely necessary to thrive. You can't do anything without that friction, that positive friction. But like you say, for yourself is looking at that, having that vision, having that communication, having that accountability, and being able to bring that up. I think with the goal side of things for me is, I think people do need the big goals, and I think they do need a certain level of tension, but they also need to have the understanding. They also need to have, you know, the comprehension of themselves, how they just take the steps and how they keep moving towards it and how they build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, with the leader, it's that leadership by proximity. It's that, you know, being there, catching them, getting it right, saying thank you at the right time, as you said before, you know, that appreciation, nurturing their ideas and nurturing them up so that they feel like they can go and do something different as a result of your relationship. Because, you know, for me, listening to your story, had you not had those things, or you had the opposite, you know, it could have been a very different journey. What do you think? What makes a true leader?
For me, it's respect. For me, that's a key word. When you treat everyone as people, as humans around you, and demonstrate genuine respect, not just from a business perspective, but just on a social level, just being friendly, open-minded, willing to listen to what people would like to share. So for me, it's creating those moments, the opportunity. I had my moment with these individuals, these professionals, and it's amazing what I have achieved over the last 27 years. So for me, it's having that quality moment with your team members where you demonstrate you are genuinely interested in the well-being, and not just from a business perspective, but also on a personal level. And to me, that's just respect.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What's the one thing that you remember one of your mentors, guides saying that you still remember now to this day?
Learning is a never-ending journey.
Nice.
And there's always room for improvement. Hence, I love pushing myself. Last 2 years, I completed 15 professional qualifications, and and between now and the next 7 years, I've got 27 courses in mind. I have penciled out. So for me, it's that piece. Learning is a never-ending journey. And the more I'm able to acquire, it just means the more I'm able to share with my audience, my learners, my clients. So yeah, I still remember, and it was actually Mr. Brankin who said that to me, my English teacher. He said, nice. Jay, learning is a never-ending. So yeah, it's bizarre. I still remember.
And there's a reason why I say that when you're talking about, you know, what makes a true leader. It's being aware for me that there are things that people who are listening to this are saying today that will be repeated in 20 years' time. And having the comprehension of how powerful your own words are when you're sharing them with someone else, and the imprint and the impact that it makes on that person. And And it's curious you say that, you say about the number of qualifications, you say about the professorship, the fellowships that go with that. And that's the one quote you remember. So for me, that just massively hyper punctuates the whole J experience.
I remind myself, and I have tried to reach out to this individual just to show how much I love this person as a human being. If it was not for this individual not being in my life at that point, clearly it would have been different. I have also gone back to my school, and I've asked the head teacher if I could possibly have access to the email address, and because of data protection and all the rest, they said, Jay, it's not something we can share. I've also tried to reach out to this individual on Facebook, Twitter. I haven't had any success, but I just want to remember him for what he has done to me as a person. And he has inspired me to push my boundaries and convince myself, if you have a vision, if you have a strategy, that there's nothing to stop you from living your dream or your dreams. And for me, it's a never-ending journey. And also, the reason why I said respect is, if you Google the subject, there's various concepts that come up. But for me, it's from my own perspective, based on my own experiences. And what I have found, when you demonstrate respect to the audience around you, it's amazing what you can, in terms of the reaction you get. So that's my buzzword, my keyword.
As I say, it's not even a buzzword. You know what? I think like you said earlier, these buzzwords, they come and go. At the same time, kind of respect is absolutely vital, critical, and very necessary in everything that we do. Respecting people for taking the time to invest in sharing their time with you, because time is one of the most valuable commodities we have. For the respecting them for engaging with you and giving you their attention. And also for helping you carry that message, because the more respect you give to them for that, the more likely they are to carry that message out and go and touch somebody else with it.
Absolutely.
And I think failure to capture that as a thought leader, or even as a trainer or a coach, or even just a leader in a team, because your audience is your team, you're going to miss out massively.
Something else I'll quickly add. With regard to my personal branding, I also had something else in mind, which was the Messiah. And the reason why I haven't used it as actively as I wanted to is the risk of offending people. But if we put religion to a side, and if we just look at the concept as it is, the Messiah is a individual who's knowledgeable and is someone who guides people to choose between the between the good and the bad. And as a professional, that's exactly what I do. Exactly what I do. I did a workshop in Singapore, and I introduced myself as the Messiah of leadership, and quite a few people reacted negatively and challenged me. And again, it got me excited. And then I explained my vision, my way of doing things. And it was really bizarre. By the end of it, I had 57 aspiring managers and leaders in this workshop. And again, it was while I was on holiday. They all stayed back and asked me if they could have my email and my LinkedIn profile. And it's amazing. But for me, magician is a safe option. Don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, it comes back to that those archetypes. Actually, when they talk about Messiah, and it's Robert Moore, and you would love this book, by the way. If you haven't read this, you need to get into the book. The audio is on YouTube free, because I think the book's quite old now. It's called King, the Warrior, the Magician, Lover, something along those lines. And he talks about, when you get into the depth of the king, he talks about the Messiah. He talks about Christo, kind of Christian archetypes and ideas and stuff. And actually that Messiah, I think when he breaks down the definition, it means king. It doesn't mean as in Christ. It actually means the king archetype, the king energy. So again, it's that personification, but it's the connotation that people apply to this stuff that causes the power. You could flip that on its head and go to completely controversial and say, Adolf Hitler was a great leader. He was phenomenal at creating a movement and inspiring people to move. doesn't make him, you know, mentally sound or a nice person. Leadership capacity, phenomenally powerful. So it's again, it comes to that connotation that goes with those moments, and making sure that we're tailoring that response and gearing people up. Yeah, I want to create challenge. I want to create friction, and in doing so, I know where that's going to go to. There'll be a couple of bumps, and there'll be a couple of people that don't like it at the start, but then you start to get that engagement, and people move that space. I'm loving this conversation, Jay. Look, penultimate question.
Yeah.
How
go easy on me. Don't put me in the spot now. Go easy.
How do you make behavioral change stick?
My vision.
Nice.
So for me, and it's not just my vision, but for anyone, if you have a vision in mind, you'll realize you constantly have to challenge your behavior. And because of this concept, this philosophy, it stays with you in terms. See, I have met a lot of individuals, professionals, who have said, "Oh, you know, we don't like change, and we're very set in our own ways, and all the rest." But let's just take this COVID-19 for example. I mean, if we look at the nation as a whole, there are so many professionals working from home. Given a choice, maybe 6 months back, it would have been a no-go area, something there's nowhere we would consider. But environments force us to change our behavior, to try new things, to adapt. It's about survival. So for me, it's my vision. Personally, for me, from my perspective, it's my vision. From an audience's perspective, it's what motivates them. It's the end goal. What's attached to the vision, the dream, the objectives, the SMART objective, whatever that is. It's just that's what drives it for me. And the vision.
It's having that stake in the ground. It's having a flag. You create an idea, and it's then having the flexibility and resourcefulness that sometimes when you want to get there, maybe the river turns left when you thought you were going to go right, but you still know where you're going. You still have an understanding that there's going to be a flow, there's going to be something that happens. Oh, this curve means that now I can actually incorporate this, and I can include this. But you've got the flag in the sand. You know where you're going. You move to it, and people will make a decision. I believe in Jay. I'm going to help him get there. I don't believe in Jay. I think he's full of something, and I'm not going to go with him. You know? But you give people the opportunity to make that decision, and then through that conviction, through that energy, through that ownership of who you are when you come to that equation, boom, then people can make a decision, and more people will make the decision to go with you based on actually if you know who you are as that leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get excited when people challenge me. It's an opportunity for me to demonstrate how good I am and how I can inspire them. And I've been in situations where people have said, "Jay, how can you be so arrogant?" I will say, "I'm not arrogant, I'm confident." There's a difference. Because of my success, because of what I have done, if I never had this self-confidence, this self-belief, there's no way I would have achieved a quarter of what I have achieved. And I'm not just talking from a financial perspective. I'm talking about my own personal development, the fellowships, the education, also the impact I've had on so many professional clients. I mean, every workshop, there's always some learners who stay back and say, "Jay, I just want to say, you've been great. You inspire me, you motivate me." And I'll always say to them, "Oh, just put in an email to my line manager. Who knows, I might get a pay rise out of it." So let's just be creative. But again, it's just it's having that vision, it's having that self-belief. Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point of doing what we do if we can't achieve success, if we can't help people progress and become a better version of a professional figure?
Agreed on so many different points. Jay, last question. This is the easy one, and you're definitely and I would hope you definitely have the answers to this one. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn, Moiba Rahman 2020.
Wonderful. And we'll get that in the credits underneath, so you can see you get the LinkedIn details and the connection details for Jay. People call him Jay. His real name is Moiba Rahman. Everyone calls him Jay. I get to call him a friend now because this is just phenomenal. We're having a lot of fun doing this. This is amazing.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank
No,
you, Jay.
thank you. Honestly, it's been a pleasure for me, and I think it's great. We both have bounced off each other, and for me, that's inspiring. It just demonstrates we both are heading in the right direction professionally. But from a leadership perspective, it's also that social connection. If you're not able to connect with your audience, how do you move forward?
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, Nathan. It's been great to come on and talk about what I love doing, my passion.
I was going to say, it's a hard life, isn't it? Talking about what you love doing. So look, for the people listening to this, I just want to say thanks very much for your time. We respect you taking the time to listen to this interview. It's, deeply appreciated. Go and dig in. Go and have a look at the work of what Jay's doing. Go and find out about the fellowships that he's involved in. Go and look at the research that he's doing. Invest some of your time into your own development to be in his space. And go and ask him some questions. This man is curious about his own abilities and his own beliefs and his own capabilities in the leadership domain. And with that in mind, he wants people to be curious about theirs with him as well. So I encourage you, connect, speak, ask questions, see what's going on and learn from this fountain of knowledge that's going to help you be a better leader. You get some of that magic energy. Go and experience what the magician's got to do, because I'm sure he's pulling more than birds out of his top hat, okay? We're having fun. This is good. Jay, look, thanks very much for today. Everybody, thanks very much for your time. We'll see you on the next interview. Firstly, massive thank you from the MBM team for tuning in to this sticky interview. If you haven't already done so, now is the time to click subscribe and stay up to date with our new training videos and great interviews. And secondly, if you want to learn more about the skills we've been talking about in this episode, click the link and take a look at the MBM virtual classrooms. They're there to help you be the best version of you in the work that you do. Until next time, see you soon.